Ghana is mourning the passing of our former First Lady, Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings. The interesting thing is, Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings passed away on October 23rd, 2025, exactly about 3 weeks to the 5th anniversary of the passing of her late husband, former President Rawlings. And that highlighted for me how movie-like their last story had always been. So I'm going to share with you some heartwarming stories from the life of Nana Konadu and Papa J, and as a way of, shining some light in this dark moment for this country. So let's get right into it. Before we do that, my name is Senebi Tony. I'm a Ghanaian writer who lives in the US. And, Achimota is usually credited as the birthplace of the love of Papa J and Nana. But before Achimota, they knew each other in daycare. According to Nana Konadu, she and Rawlings attended the same daycare, which means that would mean that they've known each other their entire life. But in daycare, they never really interacted with each other because they were in different social groups for different reasons. I won't get into that right now. So after daycare, they were separated, went their separate ways until Achimota. Her first week in Achimota, Nana Konadu saw a group of seniors from maybe Form 4 to Form 6 hanging out. And they called her and her friends to come. So she walked towards these older boys. And one of the older boys, a fair boy, told her to kneel down. So she did. And they had a little exchange. She and her friends were dismissed to go. This story feels typical if you went to secondary school in Ghana, right? How seniors and juniors relationship is always like. And this was, usually when you're in boarding school, you go to school before classes start. So this happened before classes started. The first day of the class, she saw that the fair boy who asked her to kneel down was in the same class with her. And that pissed her off. Like, you are not even smart. That's what she thought. That because Rawlings was hanging out with the seniors, it means that he knows them already. Which means that the only reason Rawlings will know the seniors is because he's known them in the school for more than a year. Which means that Rawlings was repeated. That's what she was thinking. But it turned out Rawlings was not repeated. He just knows how to make friends. So she said, you are not smart. You two you are arrogant. I don't like you. So she didn't like Rawlings. And what even pissed him off most was that Rawlings became like the class clown, always cracking jokes in the class, making people laugh. If your enemy is making people laugh, how will he make you feel? Yeah, she even hated him more. So the entire 4 years they were in Achimota together, she didn't want anything to do with Rawlings. But she noticed that Rawlings was always trying to talk to her. He was always trying to get her to like him. And she said she has hardened her heart. She's never going to love him. So even in these 4 years, right, when they were on break and they went home, Rawlings will come to her house to wash his father's car. And you know how these things play out. Rawlings wanted to see her. But he can't just come to her house. Mr. Agyemang, Nana Konadu's father, was a big man in Ghana at this point. Very, very important person in Ghana. He was so important that he knew both President Nkrumah and Dr. Buzia. He was classmate with Dr. Nkrumah, but he was the best man for Dr. Buzia's wedding. Yeah, that's how connected Mr. Agyemang, the father of Nana Konadu, was. And so Rawlings will come to the house to wash Mr. Agyemang's car whilst eyeing his daughter. But his daughter said, I still don't love you. And 4 years came, And at this point, under the old regime, you go to secondary school from Form 1 to Form 4. After Form 4, you decide whether you want to have a career immediately, like maybe join the military or something else, or go to the university. Nana Konadu wanted to go to the university, so she continued to fifth form. Rawlings left to go to the military academy, Air Force Academy. So maybe after a year in the Air Force Academy, he came back. But while he was away, Nana started missing him. She's like, that boy that used to worry me, I miss his presence. I wish he and his friends were around. Because according to her, Rawlings and his friends were the people who were the fun people in the school. So when he left with his friends, the fun on campus stopped for her. That's what she said, though. She didn't say she loved him, but she said she missed the fun of Rawlings and his friends. And so he came back after a year to come and see her. And the moment she saw him, she ran like, movie, slow motion, to go and hug him. And the moment she hugged him, her heart melted. And that was the point she started falling in love with Papa J. 5 years of, what was the name? Applying pressure worked for him. And so they started dating, were boyfriend and girlfriend. She finished sixth form. She went to Kumasi, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, for her university education. So this is important. She didn't put away her dreams just because she found a man. She continued with her dream. She went to the university in Kumasi. Rawlings was in Accra. That was when the movie got dark. Every romantic comedy, there's a point where the main character, the guy and the woman, get separated. That was it for them. Rawlings started chasing other women while she was in Kumasi. To the point that she found out that Rawlings had brought one of the women to come and stay in his house in Burma camp while she was on campus in Kumasi. So she got angry and broke up with Rawlings. So when they broke up, Rawlings' mother was happy because Rawlings' mother didn't like her. Rawlings' mother got Rawlings a white woman to marry. And Rawlings said, no, I don't want to marry anybody. I only want to marry Nana. So they got back together, and then she moved back to Accra after her education. And, she got her house in the gated community. Because she went to university, she had better job than Rawlings. So she lived in the estate community while Rawlings was in Burma camp. They started hanging out. And then she noticed that the woman Rawlings' mother had given to Rawlings was still hovering around them. So she got angry again and broke up with, if you're not going to sack this girl, I'm not going to be with you. That's what it was. And in her anger, she got an offer to attend a training for her job abroad in Europe. And at this point, she said, you know what? When I go to Europe, I'm going to forget about this guy, find a new man in Europe, marry him, and settle in Europe. But Papa J was not going to go down without a fight. Papa J was suddenly on the plane. She was like, did you buy a ticket? No. Apparently, Papa J was able to convince the pilot to let him get on the plane, to go on his knees, and propose to Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings to marry him. So basically, Papa J did a grand gesture to his, at this point, ex-girlfriend to marry him. She said yes in the moment because of how overwhelmed she was in the moment. But she realized that, you know what? This guy have always been in my life. I've tried to date other people after we broke up, and none of my relationships have been successful. Sometimes because Rawlings would drive the men away. Sometimes it just didn't work out. I think there was a story she shared in her book about this one guy who she felt like they were from the same social class. They had a little bit more things in common, but the spark just wasn't there, like it was with Papa J. So while she was away in Europe, she's decided that she's going to come back to Ghana after the training and get married to Papa J, see how it goes. And when she came back to Ghana, good news for her, Papa J was a changed man. He wasn't chasing girls around anymore. All the women who were around Papa J, she wasn't seeing them around him anymore. So, love conquered Papa J, I guess. And so, another fascinating story. Papa J is a soldier. At this point, he was a flight lieutenant. So that means that they were entitled to a military wedding with horses and everything. She was excited to plan a military wedding. And when the wedding time was getting close, the then NRC government told them that we are not going to allow you to have the wedding you wanted. So she didn't get a military wedding she wanted. So her dream wedding didn't happen. She hated her wedding day. Even coupled with the fact that Rawlings' mother didn't attend their wedding, so Rawlings' auntie had to represent Rawlings' family at the wedding. So, actually, in her book, It Takes a Woman, she dedicated a whole chapter to the wedding. Yeah, to vent about how unhappy she was on her wedding day. And so, the wedding happened, they got married, and she had a baby. I think their first child is a senator. When they had a senator, President Rawlings, at this point, Flight Lieutenant Rawlings said, my name Rawlings is not a Ghanaian name. It's a Scottish name because my dad is Scottish. But my children are full-blooded Ghanaians. I'm not Scottish. I don't feel Scottish. I feel Ghanaian. So I want my children to have Scottish name. You know, it's not a thing in Ghanaian culture to give your wife's name to your kids. So Rawlings decided to have a compromise. So all the children had compound names as their last name. All the children's last name is Agyemang-Rawlings. So the reason why the Rawlings family kids are called Agyemang-Rawlings is because Rawlings wanted them to have a more Ghanaian identity. After Senator was born, Rawlings' mother started coming to the house where Mrs. Rawlings was living to visit a senator. Yeah, visit a senator. Rawlings' mother will come to the house, pick up baby as a senator, not even talk to Nana, and, left without talking to Nana. At some point, Rawlings got angry and told his mother that, see, this house that the children and I are living in is not my house. It is my wife's house. My house is a Burma camp. This estate house is my wife's house. So, if you don't show respect to my wife, and she tells me she doesn't want to see you again, you are not coming to this house anymore. So if you want to keep seeing your grandchild, respect my wife. And Rawlings' mother mellowed and started accepting her. They actually became friends from that point on. Good one for the boldness of Papa J. That is the love story, but I wanted to share another fascinating fact about Mrs. Rawlings before I end. According to Mrs. Rawlings, when the coup d'etat happened, Mr. Rawlings became president of Ghana, or Chairman Rawlings became the head of state of Ghana. And as head of state of Ghana, he was entitled to Ghana's coffers, as most of our leaders were. Unfortunately, Ghana's coffers was empty. And at this point, she was first lady, so Mrs. Rawlings couldn't work. So Ghana didn't have money. The Rawlings family didn't have money. So they were so poor that she didn't have money to do her hair. So according to Mrs. Rawlings, she started wearing the headgear she's known for, the head wrap she had on her hair, which she was known to wear as first lady till she passed away. She said she did that because she couldn't afford to plait her hair or do any hairstyle. So she covered her hair because of how poor her family was and Ghana was at the time her husband became Chairman Rawlings. I thought it was fascinating how the fact that Ghana didn't have money was what she improvised to make her signature look that stayed with her even to the point of her passing. She was an artist, right? She went to Tech to study art. And so she was an artist from when she was a child, an artist in school, and an artist till she passed away. I'll always, as an artist myself, respect that about former First Lady Rawlings. In future, we will talk about other aspects of her life, her public service. You know, she was the First Lady of Ghana from 1981 to 2001 with a short time in 1979. Of course, there are some negative things I can say about her, but I want to focus this one on just the love story. In future, we will look at the policies. Thank you for watching this, and condolences to her family and the entire Ghana. Subscribe to my channel if you are interested in policy issues.